Rebella, your host here at Matchmaker Secrets, where we talk about love, dating, and relationships, and of course, matchmaking. So, time and again, we have always been wondering how can we actually get in line in order to combat our own trauma or our inner fears somehow taunting you here and there all the time. And so that's the reason why we have actually invited somebody who is actually an expert in that. So our guest is actually a professional in that field. So Michael Roth, CAD, SRC, is an experienced and dedicated holistic wellness specialist, recovery coach, author, and speaker. He has been practicing in Ventura County, California for over 35 years, helping his clients recover from the effects of trauma, both past and present. These effects can range anywhere from stress and burnout to chronic physical symptoms to various addictions. So, hello, Michael. How are you?
Hi, thanks for having me, Lori.
Perfect. So, I'm so excited because, obviously, we want to help a lot of people, and that's the reason why, we have you here. So, maybe we can start the ball rolling. So, tell me, what got you into this field?
What a great question. So I've been in the helping field for a really long time, and then I struggled personally with intimacy anorexia and various addictions, and then decided that I'm going to take my recovery and then help other people transform their lives.
Okay. All right. So, based on your experience, which aspect of relationships do you get more increase from?
You're in the relationship game, and one of the two areas that impact relationships in a negative way, one of them is sex addiction, and the other one is intimacy anorexia. Intimacy anorexia is a term coined by Dr. Douglas Weiss in Colorado, and it's becoming like a pandemic in the realm of relationships. So I'd like to share about that to alert your I don't know what to call them, your not clients,
Viewers.
but your viewers. Yes, because it's insidious, and it's also considered an addiction under sex addiction.
Okay, can you tell us exactly what are those? Because, obviously, it's a new word, terminology.
Sure.
For a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So intimacy anorexia. So just imagine there's a relationship, and usually with intimacy anorexia, it's either one or the other who actually has it. There can both have it, but usually it's one. And what happens is that person withholds love, sex, and spirituality from their partner. And often that person also craves distance. So he or she will argue, criticize, be very judgmental of their partner, and take very little responsibility for their part. That's the red flag for intimacy anorexia. That's the short version.
Okay, all right. Well, I would imagine, most people who have been divorced, they say, "Oh yeah, that's what I got,"
Yeah,
Or,
exactly.
because what I heard sometimes with these people, we're having some problems with sex, and they're I think they define it perfectly. So, what are the considerations that marriage-minded individuals have to look for, even before jumping into relationship, based from what you have seen?
Yeah. So one of the things, and again, I'm talking about intimacy anorexia now, not so much sex addiction, but with intimacy anorexia, it usually manifests once the person is married and they're living in the same home. Very often when we're dating, we don't pick up on the intimacy anorexia because we go back to our own apartments, homes, that kind of thing. So you definitely want to enhance one's communication. Absolutely. And just notice, does your partner, is he critical or she critical and judgmental? And does she look to create, or he look to create distance? Does that person withhold love, like I said earlier, sex, spirituality? So those are some areas that you want to pay attention to. Those would be red flags in the dating world.
Okay, so when you said like withholding, is that withholding sex? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. And that could be, again, in the same home, husband and wife sleeping in separate bedrooms, always coming up with an excuse, I don't want to, I have a, some sort of excuse. But at the end of the day, they're withholding love.
In a lot of books, it has been said like you have to withhold sex before even like committing seriously to a person for a while. And so like what do you think about that? So like obviously if this person has already been branded like okay, maybe she has some issues.
Well, that's a good point. So I'm obviously older, and a lot of the people that I see currently for intimacy anorexia are, I would say, in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and 70s. So this is not something that a young person would end up in my office with. I usually see the more mature person.
You said sex addiction. How will one know that their
Yeah, it's a
potential
great
mate
question.
is going to be like has this problem?
The easiest way and the simplest way is to actually ask and have a
Oh.
conversation. So, do you use pornography? Okay, many do. How often? How frequently? How often? And then to discover whether this is something that's a compulsion or not, because that's where the addiction is. It's where somebody says, I'm not gonna masturbate to porn anymore, and then the next day they're doing the same exact thing. So that's a conversation that you definitely want to have before you get married. Being honest. How often, how frequently, that kind of thing. Because otherwise, what happens is, in this case, I'm going to use a guy. It's in the middle of the night. He's in his office masturbating to pornography. His wife gets up, notices he's not in the bed, and then she walks in and catches him. And then, if you will, the games begin. Because for a woman, mostly, guys too, they make it personal. Oh my gosh, he's masturbating to porn. I must not be enough. Why would he choose blah, blah, blah over me? That kind of thing. When in reality, it has nothing to do with the partner. Affairs often have nothing to do with the partner. It's the individual, if that makes any kind of sense. Because it's all self-medicating at the end of the day. It's no different from any other addiction.
Do you suggest that women should shy away from people with this situation because like you said that they can be cured, but if they're not ready to be actually be having some treatment, then they're going to be a recurring issue.
Yeah, so the degrees are, first of all, internet pornography is really, really common, and now it's kids are doing, are actually using it, like 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. It's become an epidemic. So most people are gonna, I say most, many people are going to use that for masturbating. It's the issue becomes when it becomes a compulsion, an obsession, when they're spending hours and hours online, and then they have fantasy. And as you all know, and your listeners know, it's really difficult to compete with a real person compared to fantasy online. Very, very difficult. And it creates a whole lot of problems.
You also said that you prepare couples looking to get married. So would you share some information? What do you actually share to them?
Well, when somebody comes in and they're in a committed relationship, we talk about the realities of a committed relationship. What is it they both want? What are their shared visions and goals with each other? Pretty much that. It's more of a preventative, proactive approach rather than, oh, I'm coming in and my husband's an intimacy anorexic, or I caught my husband online and now I don't know what to do. Should I stay with him? Should I leave? I mean, I don't make any decisions for anybody, but we have a conversation, an adult conversation, to see, what they want. And if there is an issue, do they really want to give it up? And then I ask them why. Why is very, very important. Are they doing it just to save the marriage, or do they really want to change and transform themselves? Very important in the realm of this, the why.
Based from what you have seen, are there people who actually like just suddenly stop? Like, those people who drinks. So they just decided, oh, okay, I'm gonna be quitting, and then that's it. They just suddenly stop. Are there people like that?
Yes, but usually no. Usually no. So somebody can say, I'm going to stop, and they will. And then in the right situation and circumstances, they'll feel lonely. They'll be under a lot of stress. They'll be out of town. I mean, something will happen, and then they'll have a relapse. That's very, very common. That's why it's really important when asking the question, why is it you want to stop? Has to be a big enough why, because it's not easy.
So it seems like gonna be problematic for a while if it's not easy. So, so you said like you don't even suggest the women to end the relationship. You still have to talk about it.
You got
But
to,
it's
communication is key.
yeah, but it's for tough women, like who can handle something like this because they really are in love with this person, or like it can be opposite as well. Like it can be the woman who has a problem.
Yeah, no, it goes both ways. And at the end of the day, it's an illness, and it's a chronic illness. It's the same kind of thing as, say, diabetes. People who are diabetic live very, very good lives, and they have to manage their diabetes. This is the same thing because it impacts the brain and it impacts brain chemistry. That's why it's important that they want to stop.
Okay, but there's hope for that, right?
Absolutely. You have to want to, and you have to really get in the game and really want to transform the addiction or the intimacy anorexia. The thing with intimacy anorexia is at first, there's usually denial. Actually, the same with sex addiction. Not me. No, I can stop. And with intimacy anorexic, they often gaslight. They'll kind of spin things around and kind of blame the other person. So you have to be very, very careful. It's very insidious.
Okay, so you explained to me earlier that there's such a thing as sex addiction, wherein like they're just using the porn. And so are there actually people who actually like go to different actual live person in order to practice this sex addiction, and then like I don't know what kind of protection are they using or something, because it can be scary if you get illnesses other than
That's
what you have.
absolutely, absolutely, because part of the with the sex addiction, a lot of the, I'm going to use guys, but women too, they'll go get a massage, and then there's some sort of what they call a happy ending. They go to different clubs. I mean, there's a whole thing. And sexually transmitted diseases are very real. And that's part of the upset for the partner. How could you put me through this? Why would you put me at risk? I mean, these are very, very good, powerful questions. That's part of the whole recovery process. And then, of course, trust is broken. They have to restore trust. Very big.
Okay, I would imagine not everybody is like ready in order to ask these kind of questions, especially if they're just getting to know. So do you teach some people like some hints in order to make this happen? Because like we all know, like the idea of talking about sex can be taboo, even as of now, to, I would imagine, to younger people as well. They usually see it online, but I'm not sure if they actually talk about it in person to another person.
Well, I mean, to me, it's the same thing. If you're going to be intimate with somebody, and I don't care if you're 18 or 25 or 40, it's very reasonable and I think important to ask, do you have any sexually transmitted diseases? Do you have HPV? Do you have herpes? These are, to me, reasonable, normal questions. If someone's going to be intimate, then they have permission to ask, in my mind. And again, it's all about communication.
And aside from communication, do you have anything like, you have in mind that is very important in order to have a stable relationship with, anybody?
Yes. So one of the tools for recovery in intimacy anorexia, and again, you don't have to be intimacy anorexic to do this, is to share your feelings with your partner every day, every other day, a couple of days a week, and actually share feelings, legitimate feelings. And you go back and forth and you do that for 15 minutes. That opens up intimacy, opens up vulnerability, and deepens connection. Praying together is very, very powerful. Doesn't matter what religion or what your belief is, just praying together is very, 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 very important also.
And so does it also applies for those people who are introverts? So like obviously like introverts are much more, spaced out, like they don't want to be like too much like
No,
expressing themselves.
so with intimacy, with introverts are very comfortable with one-on-one. The thing with an introvert is when they're tired, they want to be by themselves. They don't want to go to a party. That's what distinguishes introvert. Whereas an extrovert recharges by going to social events. That's kind of introvert versus extrovert. Introverts are very comfortable with one-on-one. So with a partner, that seems, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert.
Okay, got it. So what you call that, I really wish that we have more time, but this has been very enlightening because like, I'm sure there are some people who have had experience this. It's just that, they have no idea, like, this can be actually taken care of by a specialist. And so like, yeah, we're always looking for resource speakers, either professionals in the industry, or if you're single and looking for love, dating, and relationships, and you want to help get some help in navigating, just give us a holler because we want to have you here in this show. But anyway, I'd like to thank you again, Michael, for this time, and I'll see you soon.
Bye. Thank you. Bye, Lori.
Bye-bye.